So hi there and welcome to our session. My name is Gemma Jennison and I work as part of the Community Vision team. We were formerly known as AirVAS, so you will see that on the profile picture still. We do need to update that. We have recently gone through a merger with Voluntary Action North Links, and we now are recognised under our new Community Vision logo and branding, which, so if you see that, we are still very much AirVAS, and I think the majority of people will know us as AirVAS. But just so you're not confused, we are both. I'm just about to screen share with you and go through some housekeeping. Hopefully everybody can see that and it's filled the screen now. I do normally have my colleague on screen with me so she can keep an eye on the chat. Unfortunately, I can't see that, and she's not in and she's not able to do this session with me today. So if at any point anything goes wrong, I cut off or anything like that, please just unmute yourselves and give me a shout, and I'll be able to then check in back with you and I can see you all. So a huge welcome from us as part of East Riding Adults Safeguarding Week. As mentioned, we are part of the Community Vision team, and we're just making sure, again, you know, that you can keep your camera and microphone turned off. We will be using the chat function as part of the session. There's not too much, but I do try and get people involved where I can. And then following this, you will receive an evaluation form that comes through East Riding Safeguarding Adults Board. So please take the time to receive that and respond, as we do value evaluation feedback. So there's our new logo, and as part of Community Vision, and our session today is on the Voluntary Community and Social Enterprise, or VCSE for short, because it is a bit of a mouthful. Sector services, and what do we do? As mentioned, we did have a few more organisations who unfortunately have had to pull out at the last minute, but we have two incredible ones here today, and I'm really excited to hear more about what they do. And as mentioned, we will be sharing this with our partner organisations and agencies. Again, just a little bit of housekeeping. A huge thank you for attending. I've already mentioned that the session will be recorded and that will be using the chat function. Oh, the big thing that I like to mention right at the beginning is confidentiality. There may be opportunities, well, there will be opportunities for you to ask questions to organisations. If you are discussing any real life cases that you're currently working or those that you're supporting out in the community, just please ensure that you maintain confidentiality at all times, and that you don't give away or mention any features, address details, etc., that might enable somebody to identify who you're talking about. Another one to mention is a huge one, and it's very relevant to today's session about looking after yourself. You know, there's nothing that's going to be shared today that we would, you know, be deemed as really difficult, but naturally with anything that's safeguarding, we never know fully what is a trigger for someone. I will ensure that I am on the video and on the session right until the very end if anybody does want to chat at the end, and even if I'm not able to help you, you know, we have key links with a whole range of different organisations and professionals that we can connect you with. So please do, if you are struggling, please do hang on at the end, and we will make sure that we direct you to the right form of support. So 3 main aims of the workshop today. It's nice and informal. I like to keep it informal and chatty, and hopefully as kind of informative as possible for you, and that hopefully you'll take away lots of information on the organisations that are presenting today. So the first one we're going to look at the VCSE sector is, for those who've not come across or have much of an understanding of what is classed as the VCSE sector. We're going to understand what role it has in supporting communities and staff in relation to their emotional health and well-being. And finally, we're going to explore some of the key VCSE organisations that do provide that kind of well-being and mental health support to those living in the East Riding and wider areas. Just to mention, if there is anybody who's on the workshop that is not from the East Riding, Hull or wider areas, if there is an organisation that we mentioned today, or there's one specific to your area that you do need support in accessing, I've popped my email in the chat. Please feel free to get in touch and I will help you try my best to help you find any services in your area that are able to support you. Little bit of an activity, and I'll just come out of my presentation in a minute just so I can access the chat. But I want you to just think about what kind of things spring to mind when you think about the voluntary community, social enterprise and faith sector. So if you just pop anything that springs to mind in the chat, and we can have a look at the different things that people think of when we think of the VCSE. I'm just going to come out of it slightly while I can access. So if I can find the chat, what kind of things do we think about? Anything at all? So I'm just going to let them in. And for those that have just managed to join us, we're just doing a little bit of an activity and asking people to pop anything in the chat box that they think about when they think about the VCSE sector. So that's the voluntary community and social enterprise sector. Yes, absolutely, Sam. Grassroots, yeah, local organisations. Absolutely, it's on the ground, isn't it? Voluntary organisations, so lots of volunteering, providing support, yeah, direct in the communities. Non-profit, amazing, yep, thank you. Wide range, yes, working so creatively. We'll look a little bit more at that in a minute, so that's brilliant, thank you. We do work really closely with communities, and in whatever way they need is the best way I can describe it. There's some really great ones there. Thank you. I'm just going to go back to screen share. So we've got loads of examples there. Brilliant. So what is the VCSE sector? So after doing quite a bit of research, I did come to the kind of the feeling at the end that there was no single definition. There was nothing that's, and I think that's literally because it is such a broad and diverse sector. But there was definitely some key things that were kind of appearing as part of that research. And some of the words and kind of words you've mentioned already in the chat just a minute ago was things like the charities, public sector mutual and social enterprises. There was quite often it was referred to as the societal sector, and there was that real focus on it being members of that society and kind of contributing to that society. Other terms such as self-governing and independent of formal structures of government, organizations can run a little bit more isolated as in independently, but they're still very much linking with other VCSE sector organizations, usually within their area, but also nationally as well. There was mention of the use of volunteers to carry out work, which is, yep, absolutely, and the VCSE sector absolutely thrives on volunteers who are there, usually with like personal passion and purpose to be there and carrying out those roles. And quite often there's links with environmental purposes. And then I pinched the bottom quote there, which is the voluntary and community and social enterprise sector is an important partner for health and social care agencies and makes up a significant part of the UK economy with 153,000 registered charities and 53 billion of income. And that's taken from the Good Governance website there. So what does the VCSE sector look like in the East Riding? It is very, very broad and includes a whole range of faith-based VCSE sectors in there, many small groups that are purely volunteer-led and right through sort of your larger national staffed charities and where there's also paid employments and positions there. There's roughly around 1,000 groups which cover just short of 1,000 square miles in the East Riding. Within the East Riding, we deliver a really broad range of support and activities to all different kind of ages, backgrounds and needs. And there's a list there, it could include sports, arts, social, single interest groups, support groups, cultural groups, as well as health and social care services. And again, a VCSE in the East Riding provides many opportunities for people of all ages to volunteer, helping to reduce loneliness, try new things, meet new people, improve overall health and well-being, which is what our main focus of topic today, as well as gain employability skills, which I'll touch upon a little bit in a minute. So what can the VCSE sector offer? A whole raft of kind of skills and resources. And I think one of the biggest is that lived experience and diversity. And it kind of links back into the next two bullet points around many people are drawn to a VCSE organisation or a support group because of that lived experience, because they are personally going through something, that they have been something, or they're supporting somebody for it, and they want that kind of support from somebody who is, you know, those who are providing that support are usually also those that have been through it too. So it's that shared understanding. For many people, being part of an organisation and after receiving support can prompt them to kind of grow in that personal passion and drive to then go on to support others. And for many, it's that opportunity to give something back. So that support often leads to that growth in self-esteem and confidence, giving them that confidence to be able to give something back. And for many, volunteers, what starts as a volunteer position might eventually lead on to being a paid employed role, that passion, that drive, them skills and knowledge that they gain through the volunteering enables them to be able to look at, you know, applying for a paid role within organisations. Quite often, my background is statutory. I've worked right across the sectors. My background has been social work within health, so child protection social work or safeguarding. And also I've worked as an independent domestic violence advocate, so an IDVA as part of the domestic abuse team in the East Riding. And within all services, we're all kind of covered by them resource restrictions. And, you know, for many people in the VCSE, what they say to me is in comparison to other sectors and roles, we've got that time and that patience to be able to sit with someone and genuinely listen. We can sit down with them with a cup of tea and we're not pushed, you know, we might be rushed by resources and restrictions and timekeeping and things, but they've got that little bit more time to spend and genuinely listen and be in that moment with somebody. The VCSE sector usually offers a common understanding of what issues communities are facing. For most VCSE sector organisations, they are generally part of that community. So they have that understanding of what exactly is going on. They're living in those circumstances, they're sharing those concerns. So they have a real good understanding about what support somebody would need going through that problem. Another really positive, I think, is that trust and familiarity. You know, for many people, we can talk about some individuals being more difficult to engage and harder to reach. But quite often, if somebody is engaging with somebody in their community, they're far more open to engaging with them because there is that trust and familiarity. Innovation and expertise, I touched upon earlier, it's quite often the VCSE sector can be really responsive really quickly and work in a really creative way to try and meet with a person's needs. And that's, for me, a really big positive. And they're also in a unique position to support provider collaboratives. So when you've got wider, larger external organisations coming in to provide support, you know, where they work in collaboration with a VCSE sector or an individual, a key representative within a group or organisation, they can really get to the heart of what that kind of client group or that community needs and how best they can approach that work in a collaborative way. And a really huge one I put at the bottom, but it's definitely not least by any stretch of the imagination, is the consistency. So as somebody who's worked right across the sectors, I think particularly now more than ever, we're in, you know, in a society where many things or people that would normally be quite key in our lives, they're a lot more inconsistent now. So if I think back to, you know, many years ago, your GP would have been maybe your GP for 20, 30 years and you'd have seen the same person all the time. Now we have more locum doctors, they move around more, they work differently, they work remotely. So that doesn't really change anymore. And that's, you know, right across across all the sectors. We see that in terms of social workers, police officers, these key individuals that are maybe around or within a community, they're changing much more frequently. But where I really urge, particularly sort of services that know they're not going to be, in place or supporting person for a very long time, is if you can aim to connect somebody with somebody in their community that may be just the one consistent person or group that's in that person's life in the long term. And again, I picked a little thing at the bottom saying, despite the incredible contribution that the VCSE sector makes, the sector is under incredible pressures, particularly financial and with funding, as we see right across all sectors. But I think it's really key that despite those resource restrictions, the VCSE sector remains really resilient in terms of working really creatively, quite often all the time, to really meet with the needs of that, those that they are supporting. So I picked a little quote there, which I won't read out, but I just think it's a really good one and really emphasises just how important it is as individuals, not just as carers and those who are supporting others, whether that be in a paid role, an unpaid role, but also just how important it is that we link with our community and those around us for our own health and well-being. Because particularly those who are in caring roles, regardless of what sector you are in, quite or not often, we can spend so much time looking after others that we do forget to look after ourselves. So just another little chat box exercise. I just want you to think about things around us that may affect our mental health. I will again just stop sharing for a moment, just so I can see the chat. So if you write down literally anything that you can think of that may affect a person's mental health. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to, it's gone a bit too fast for me. There we go. Yeah, not feeling part of a community, isolation, work and life stresses, a really important one, Rachel, and it links definitely in with what I'm going to be sharing in a minute. Anything else? Family, yeah, lack of community or resources, facilities, loneliness, bereavement, bullying, money, isolation, exams. Yeah, there's absolutely loads. And, everybody is affected by different things in different ways. It's a very personal experience, I think, mental health and well-being. I'm just going to quickly screen share again, one moment. So I've got a definitely not extensive list there, but definitely environment and the circumstances in which we live can be hugely impactful on our mental health. Experiences, day to day, childhood, past, things like that, your family and your upbringing, again, social connections. I noticed a few people picked up in the chat, that connections with others, and particularly post-COVID, for many people, they were hugely impacted by that. Money and housing, again, huge ones that can have an impact on a person's mental health. Changes in circumstances, physical health. I think sometimes we can, more historically, I think we're wising up a little bit more, but mental health and physical health was, different schools and kind of dealt with differently, but actually they're hugely interlinked in terms of that physical and mental health connection. So we're things like that. Addictions, yes, and substance use, and also genetics. And again, there was one mentioned in the chat. I was hoping somebody would, but I haven't put on there, but it is probably very, very relevant to most people on the workshop today. And it looks a little bit like this. As you can tell, it is sort of that work and environment, that stress that usually comes with that sort of work stress. And I really wanted to put a key focus on this today because the Annie Castle Trust focus of Wednesday, which is today, is caring for the carers, because quite often, whatever role, whether it's a volunteer, a paid, a local authority, a VCSE, wherever your role sits, you know, it can be extremely impactful on your emotional and mental health and well-being when you are, and quite often, working supporting others. You know, it's not just the deadlines, it's not just the reports or the minutes or whatever it is that, you know, it's within your role, but it is absolutely, it's those dealing with people and supporting people. And I just wanted to really quickly, it's a huge topic and I'm never going to cover it in the time of today's session, but I just wanted to look a little bit at that vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue. We hear the words quite often, but sometimes we kind of not really sure what they are, and we think we understand them, and sometimes people can blur them with burnout and things like that. But the word, when you look at vicarious trauma, the word trauma comes from the Greek word for wound, and the vicarious derives from the Latin meaning taking the place of another. And I think the graphic, the images, the image really kind of helps to understand and illustrate exactly what vicarious trauma is. And it's that exposure to somebody else's trauma. But we naturally, as humans, and I say very openly, when I'm with someone and I'm listening to them and talking to them, I am a little bit like an emotional sponge, and I can sort of absorb what's going on for them. And as it says there, it can have a significant mental health impact. And if not mitigated against or treated effectively, can be a pathway to post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, people often end up in roles to those that I'm sure have brought you where you are today, because of that passion and that experience, or that really key interest in supporting others and being the difference for them. But also, I think sometimes we get so caught up on being there for others that it can be quite hard, you know, to be there for ourselves. And it's about remembering that. I've put there about compassion fatigue because quite often they can be confused a little bit, and that is the physical and mental exhaustion and emotional withdrawal experienced by those who care for sick or traumatized people over an extended period. And I really like the bottom bit because it's not burnout. Quite often the term burnout can be used, but actually it is the result of carrying the emotional burden of a person's agony rather than we've just absolutely had enough. It is recognizing that actually it's difficult sometimes to carry those emotional, the burden and the emotional stories of those that we do support. So there's a few signs and symptoms there, which don't worry, we will be sharing the slides as part of that. But many of them I think you can relate to in life, not just in our working roles, but also in being around the people, our families, our friends and things. But some of these signs and symptoms are experiencing lingering feelings of anger, rage and sadness, becoming overly involved emotionally, you know, experiencing that bystander guilt when you're maybe quite restricted in what you're able to do, being preoccupied with thoughts outside of a work situation, that over-identifying with the patient or the person you're supporting, that loss of hope, pessimism or cynicism. They all sound like things we may experience at some point in our role. And then avoiding listening to a client story because, you know, I always say sometimes your head just feels a little bit full. And I think these things, it's really important that we recognize that, you know, at these times and when we're feeling these things, it is there that we do need to recognize that we actually do need to look after our emotional health and well-being as much as we are looking after that of others. Which leads really nicely into our first guest speaker, who's going to talk a little bit about some of their kind of mental health and wellbeing services that they offer. And I will pass you to Jack at Hull and East Yorkshire Mind. I will just stop sharing, Jack, and I will mute myself because my microphone is very crackly when it's on.
Thanks, Gemma. Are you able to just allow me to share my screen?
Yeah, of course. Do I have to do it on my side?
I think so. It says Hearst disabled.
Oh, does it? 1 second. Apologies. Yeah, it does. That should allow you now. And I'll mute myself and hand you over to Jack.
Thank you. I'll just get this ready. Right. Can everyone see this? Yeah,
Yes, we can, Jack.
brilliant. So morning, everyone. My name's Jack Moore. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Hull and East Yorkshire Mind. So we're a local mental health charity, and I'll just go through kind of some of the support that we offer locally across Hull and East Riding. So just a bit about us first. So we were founded in 1976. So we're fastly approaching our 50th anniversary. We're affiliated with Mind nationally. However, we are a completely independent charity. So this means we're responsible for our own fundraising, our own services, and our own staffing as well. And this also includes funding as well from local organisations. Whilst we are a charity, we're also a registered housing association. So we've got properties all across Hull and the East Riding to support people. So they come and live with us. We help them to become more independent and just have a better quality of life, really. We currently support over 10,000 people every year with their mental health. And I'll go through some of the support services that these people will access. And lastly, we offer a range of different support to adults, but we also offer support to children and young people as well. So our vision is that we won't give up until everyone experiencing a mental health problem gets both support and respect. And we do this by working with partners to intervene as early as possible. And I think that's really important because we know that early intervention is key when it comes to mental health and wellbeing. So we provide advice and support to empower and give hope to anyone experiencing a mental health problem. And a big part of what we do as well is we campaign locally to improve services and reduce stigma and discrimination. So our services, I've kind of grouped them into four key areas. So we've got one-to-one support, group support, housing, and we also have specialist support available as well. So in terms of one-to-one support, so we offer adult counselling. This is available via the NHS Talking Therapist service, as well as private and affordable therapies as well. We offer counselling to children and young people. So we take referrals via CAMS. We work as part of the Thrive project. I've just realised I've spelt Thrive wrong. And we also offer, again, private counselling, and we work with the Hull Youth Justice Service as well. Bereavement support. So we offer support to people who have lost somebody within the East Riding. Now, this is available to people across the East Riding, and this is for up to 1 year after the death of somebody close to you. In addition to this, we also offer specific support to people who have been bereaved or affected by suicide. And this is available across Hull, East Riding, North Lincolnshire and North East Lincolnshire. There's no age limits to this support, and it's manned by people who volunteers who have their own lived experience of losing somebody to suicide. We work with the local authorities to offer personal budgets. So this is supporting the community. This really ranges to what an individual wants as part of their support package. So it could be that somebody feels like they need some additional support to get fit. So it could be that they have a staff member accompany them to the gym. They might need some support kind of getting out the house. So as part of this, our staff members might go to a local cafe with them weekly, just to give them that specific set period of time to do things that'll improve their mental health. More recently, we've opened a centre in Bridlington on Wellington Road, which is to support people who are experiencing homelessness, but also can people hear me? Sorry, I didn't know when I disappeared then.
Well, I'm glad you've disappeared. I thought it was me that had disappeared.
I don't know what the last thing you heard was.
You were going through the list and you'd just done bereavement and you were going on to the next one or the one after that.
Did I speak about the homeless service?
You were just talking about that, I think.
Right, I'll start from there then.
Apologies, I don't know what happened there.
Right, can you see this again? Yeah. So yeah, in addition to our homelessness service, I don't know if you heard the last of this, but individuals can access up to 20 sessions of free counselling, and that's delivered in partnership with Space to Be Heard. And we also do offer support within GP surgeries, and this is available to adults and children, young people across Hull and East Riding. And a new service we're working on is some children and family hubs as well. So we've just set up one which is starting on Brands Home in Hull, and I think there's plans to extend that as well. In terms of group support, we offer three main types of kind of group support. So we offer Ways to Wellbeing, which is a 6-week programme that runs at various locations across Hull and East Riding. This is a 6-week programme that gives people, one, an opportunity to meet other people who might be experiencing similar difficulties, and it just gives them the chance to understand that they're not alone, but also to talk through people who might have gone through similar things. And we give them the tools and tips to kind of recover and stay well. Now, half of this, so it's a 2-hour workshop a week. Half of this will be more structured in terms of offering the tips and the techniques, whereas the other half is more social elements, and you can grab a cup of tea, you can do something that you enjoy and just speak to other people. We offer peer support groups separate to Ways to Wellbeing, and this is really about sharing lived experience and speaking with one another about coping strategies. And this is facilitated by a staff member. And dare I say the dreaded C word in November, but we also every single year run Coping with Christmas workshops. Now these are specifically for people who perhaps might find Christmas difficult, or it could be that it's a first Christmas without a loved one. You might find that the cost of living crisis is really affecting how you're managing Christmas. And a big thing as well is how to really prepare for the new year and set realistic expectations and things. Now, as part of this, internally, we call this our mental health promotions contract. As part of this, there is one-to-one support available as well, but that's subject to assessment. And I'll just pop on the locations. So they currently run in Hull, Hessle, Wivensey, Heddon, Pocklington, Beverley, Bridlington, Market Wheaton and Hornsey. So quite a big area. Right, moving on to our accommodation services. So before I start, it's really important to mention that our housing, we only can accept referrals via professionals. So individuals aren't allowed to self-refer into our housing. So it must come from a GP, a CPN, or another professional in a local organisation. We offer short-term housing, so this can be anywhere from a few months to a year. We offer long-term housing. So again, we have some people who have lived with us for some time, and they have kind of staff members going in just to give them that bit of additional support that they may need. And lastly, we work with Humber NHS Teaching Foundation Trust to offer our step-down service. So when an individual is admitted to an inpatient unit and perhaps feel like they're ready to go back into the community, they will come and live with us at one of our houses for 4 weeks. And within that time, we will work with that individual to better improve their mental health, to ensure that they've got suitable accommodation lined up. And this is often either returning back to a house they have had previously or finding new accommodation as well. So we'll work with loads of different partners, such as the local authority and other charities as well that offer for housing. Just some of our specialist services. So we offer the mental health support line. So this is available 24/7 for individuals across Hull and the East Riding. Just to kind of put into perspective, last year we received 34,500 calls to this line in a 1-year period. So it's really important giving people that access to help and support 24 hours a day. We offer our information line, which is manned Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. And this is for anyone who just wants a bit of information, advice, or support. So people can ring, they can be referred into our services, but also we can speak to people about other support that's available. And if we feel like it's better for that individual's needs, we'll signpost them externally. The police hub, so we have staff based in the Humberside Police Force Control Room to support officers with any mental health related queries. And this kind of just gives somebody a bit more time to maybe speak with somebody, which can often be quite a fast-paced environment in the force control room. We have an adults crisis pad, which is based at our building at Wellington House on Beverley Road. So this is for individuals who are maybe feeling a bit distressed and need somewhere to go to keep them safe. So this runs every night from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. And we also offer the children's safe space, which is exactly the same, running from our building in Hull. And this runs from, that's the wrong one, it's 8 p.m. until 9 a.m. So all overnight. And we've got staff based here. We've got food, washing facilities. That includes a shower, washing machines, Netflix, all of the things just to give children that distraction overnight, and we'll work with them to create a safety plan just to ensure that they are remaining safe. Very similar, we offer this in North East Lincolnshire as well, and this is available from 5:30 p.m. till midnight, and people can either drop into the building or log in to Zoom as well. We work with Renew to support individuals experiencing poor mental health and substance misuse. And we also offer Mind in Education. So this is our schools programme. So we worked with 17 schools last year. And this is us going in and really promoting positive mental health to the whole school environment, whether that be the staff, the parents and carers, and the children. And we'll kind of just do that really big whole school approach to better mental health. Obviously, we are a charity, so we rely on people to fundraise for us. We really value our partnerships and volunteering, and they're a big part of what we do. But things like this, in terms of this meeting, spreading the word is really important, and it helps charities to. I really like something what Sam put in the group earlier on in terms of filling the gaps that services don't provide, and that just summarizes what charities do in a nutshell. But we only can do that with the support of the community and really spreading the word. Now, our support changes lives, but don't just take our word for it. So I'm just going to, before I finish, I'm just going to play a video. We have got Kevin's permission to share this video, and Kevin, I won't explain because he talks about it in the video. Now, if you can just give me a thumbs up, just say that you can hear.
My name's Kevin Davies. I live in a village near Withensea. About 5-6 years ago now, I started to suffer with my mental health. And it was getting to the point where I was withdrawn, I was down, I was miserable, I was locked up in the house. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see people. I just felt so low that I really did feel suicidal. You know, there was 2 times I was planning on actually taking my life because I just couldn't go. I got out of bed, I sat on the side of the bed. I thought, this is the last time I'm going to be doing getting dressed, Kev. I'd planned what I was going to do. And I don't know what happened, but out of the blue that morning, my support worker turned up and says, I've been in touch with Mind. She told me what to do. A few days later, Emma from Mind rang me up. She's so good with me on the phone. I went to see her. And to be honest, it was the best move I ever made. We set up the dates. I had to go to group sessions on a Wednesday afternoon. And I went in, and there was quite a few people there. And that was the first time I realised, crikey, it isn't just me. Because you do think it's just yourself. And everything that was being posted on the board, I'm going, this is me. This is me. I couldn't believe it. This is actually me. It was me to a T. What was happening to me? Hey, I got through the first group and I thought, I feel a bit better. One, I've got out of the house. 2, I found somebody I can trust as in Emma. And 3, I'm not alone. I continue to go to the groups every Wednesday. I could feel it was lifting my low mood. And I thought, this is working. And at that point, I started to think, my God, I'm glad I didn't take my life. And then eventually, I'd done all the groups Mind do. So it was my time to step back, obviously to let other people come in. But as luck was have it, the volunteer for that group stepped down at that time. I just thought, if I volunteer, I've still got something to look forward to on Wednesday afternoon. And then the more I did it, the more I got confident. And I started to feel like life was worth living again. I'm strong enough now to be able to tell people my story. And I tell them I've been there, been sat where they are. If I can just give them a bit of hope, give them a bit of support, you know, just by being there, you know, I'm giving a bit back to Mind that really did turn my life around. It's lovely to see the difference in people at the groups from week 1 to week 6. I mean, this has all come from mind. I've made friends. I've got lifelong friends now made from it. And Daisy, my dog, she's been with me throughout, you know, from being a pup, and she makes me smile. You know, she puts a laugh on my face. You know, when I'm feeling down, she's there for a cuddle. You know, so when I was alone and wasn't alone, I had a dog to get me through to my next support session. You know, and 5.5 years on, you know, she's my best buddy. There was some lovely people at mind. I can't thank them enough. Can't thank them enough for what they did for me. You know, I mean, from that phone call, what Emma gave to me from day 1, I would have never, ever have thought I'd be where I am now. And without going to mine, well, I don't know what about. You know, if you're just feeling not right, mention it to someone. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, there's support out there. And even now, I still get support from them. Well, in East George, man, if you need help, yeah, you're a phone call away, or you can pop into the office.
So, I mean, I've met Kevin numerous times, and he's literally the nicest guy I've ever met. And really, Kevin won't mind me saying this because we speak often, but so we run the groups at the Shores in Wivensey, and he got in touch probably about 2 months ago now to say, I'm going to have to step down from volunteering because they've offered me a job at the Shores. Now, it's just, obviously we was absolutely gutted, but this is really good for Kevin. And the video just summarises everything about our support. It does make a difference, and yeah, it's really important. So I've just put our contact details on there, but I think just before I end, I'll just pop the next slide. So in order to refer into our services, you can call the information line on 240133, or you can fill in the form on our website. But for NHS talking therapies, you will need to contact either Hull Talking Therapies or East Rhyme Talking Therapies. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Jack. There's clearly a whole range of support there, in all different areas, and so much more, you know, than people probably assume. Is there anybody who does have a question for Jack? Please feel free to unmute yourselves, or if you prefer to pop them in the chat, just before we pass on to our next. Oh, somebody said that's a really interesting, Jack, for you. So a little bit of feedback there for you.
I don't know how to stop sharing.
So it should stay at the top. Let's have a look, see if it'll let me for you. Oh, there we go. I think you've done it.
Have I done it?
I think so. I'll just check the chat before we move on. No, there's no questions in there. So, but yeah, thank you so much for that. And next, I'll bring up this share again.
I am going to be still here, but I'm getting kicked out of this room.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll just find somewhere else.
Absolutely, thank you. If you do need to go, don't worry about it. Right, I'm just going to move it down to where we're up to. It's not taking me backwards 1 moment, apologies. There we go. So I will now hand you over to Sam, who's here on behalf of Fit Mums and Friends. I will mute myself, Sam, and if you just tell me when you'd like me to move the PowerPoint along, I'll do that on this end for you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gemma. Morning, everybody, and thank you so much for the invite to chat today. I thought this is a really lovely slide to start with. This shows you the key volunteers that really make our organisation happen. So I've got a few titles down there, as you can see. Obviously, the most important one is that I am a mum, and all of this started because I was a lonely mum way back in 2009. And what happened in 2009 was never meant to be this that you will see today. So what I'm going to do is talk through just what it is we do. I suppose the key thing to say is, and we've just realised this of late, almost what our strapline needs to be is that we're not just a running club, because that's often what you may know us from seeing the pink tops running around where you live maybe, but actually there's a lot more to what we do. So and it's lovely to be able to share that with you today. Next slide, please, Gemma. So what started on my driveway in Cottingham 2009 is now spread across 12 locations, actually. The Nordic walking option is missing off this slide, but it started in Cottingham with my desire to, one, become fitter myself after having children, but most importantly, and probably the key reason, was to make friends and to be a part of my community and to make those social contacts, especially in the playground. I was working full-time in the NHS and not meeting other parents in the playground. So what started in Cottingham was just me bringing people together, taking them out on a run, and that, as you know, many of you will know, the story has expanded. And the people that you saw on the first slide are the people that head up all of these community groups, and all of these community groups offer running of 1 through to 6 miles, therefore there being an option for absolutely everybody. So even the people currently sitting on the settee thinking, I need to do something but I'm not sure what, all these clubs can support that level you know, of fitness. And some of these clubs also have fitness walking sections as well. So those volunteers are really crucial people, because they head up a team of volunteers who lead each of those distances, and that's really important. So it's incredibly supportive. We have particularly unique systems of support even within our activity offer. Thank you, Gemma. Next one, please. So at each of those clubs, this is what you can expect. So fitness and running options at many of them. Warm welcome systems are really important to us. So one of the things you would see as a club that you attend is a welcome paddle, because we know how scary it is to arrive at a new activity. Something really scary about people in lycra as well. Everybody always looks fitter than you. So the welcome paddle is important. We have a little this chat system to make sure that everybody, every session, is welcomed, that we go through the health and safety stuff before we go out on our activity. This whole structure is supported through trained leaders and coaches. So we're all trained through England Athletics. So we all hold licenses, we have DBS checks, and we also do safeguarding training, and coaches do first aid as well, as well do the leaders as well now. So it's a really organised structure of support all through volunteers. It's a membership system, but membership offers access to every single session. So, for example, there are 7 clubs in Hull and East Yorkshire, and you can go to any session anywhere. So your membership, you know, is more than just the club that you might actually join. We have a memorial fund, so actually finance need not be a burden or a barrier to anybody. The membership is £36 for the year, and that runs from the 1st of April to the end of March. But there is no reason that money should be a barrier to somebody, because we can support this through our memorial fund. And like Jack said, we offer so many volunteer opportunities. So all those clubs, and what's really amazing is that the original group in Cottingham is 15 years old next year, and that's incredible longevity, I think, when it is totally based on volunteers. And 2 of our clubs, East Hull and Beverley, are 10 years old this year, so that's pretty good going. And as Jack said, we've had many volunteers who've come to us who have then gone on to get, you know, an element of either paid work in another organisation or maybe through us ourselves. So some great opportunities. Thanks, Gemma. So what's really important is that everybody realizes we are for everybody. So all ages, all ability. You know, there is nobody who couldn't come to us, you know, obviously with severe mobility issues maybe, but in terms of fitness levels, that's what we're here to support. And as you can see just from that slide, the age range, our oldest member is 80. He's regular on the cycle squad. I bumped into him in the village yesterday, and he proudly told me that he'd been to the Cottingham Run session this week and done 3 miles. I'm totally in awe. I want to be like him. I'm not like him now, and I'm not 80 yet. Thank you. The next slide, please, Gemma. This is really important because our name often gets shortened to Fit Mums, but we are very much for everybody. So Fit Mums and Friends. I thought I'd show you our boys in pink because we're very proud of them. And there is something really lovely about seeing them in a race or at a park run and supporting them. And we all just shout, "Go on, Fit Mums." And you can see they're very proud to be a Fit Mum, and they accept that title too, which I think is lovely. Thank you, Gemma. So we have some family friendly options, which stems from my and my husband's lack of support when we had children. It was a desire to create exercise opportunities that you could do with your children. So there's some great pictures here. You can see our East Park session on the Thursday morning, which is 9:30. So that's for anybody with a buggy, but you also don't need a buggy. So if you fancy a walk on a Thursday morning, you can join in. This would be good for grandparents or for carers. It's not just about for parents. It's definitely for mums and for dads. And it's followed by a cuppa in the cafe, which is a nice social opportunity. And the other session we do is at Beverley on a Friday lunchtime, and that's a picture when we did it in the school holiday, so we had some older children there, but ordinarily on a Friday it's for preschool children and babes in buggies, and a really that's such a lovely session because the 80-year-old chap I was just telling you about, he attends that, as do new mums with babes. So it's beautifully inclusive. And also, just to give a plug for strength and conditioning, which because that is what the session is, so important that people are doing that in their lives. Thanks, Gemma. Our junior sessions started way back in 2012 and have grown and developed since then. And because if you start getting adults active, the kids want to be a part of that. So it was inevitable at some point that we would create this. So we run our own sessions in Hull, at White College, and also in Beverley, but we also deliver some sessions at Costello on behalf of Hull City Council. This session I was at last night. So we coach about 75 children over 2 hours on a Tuesday night. And we have such a focus on the enjoyment of being active. So it's not so much about competition, but we have had athletes that are competing to a national and a regional level. But these, what we're also really teaching is about the joy of activity, teamwork, and we hold on to these kids. 3 of them went to university last year, so we really do sort of create that really lovely supportive atmosphere. And we've just had a lovely situation happen, which I'd love to share with you, which is that we had a young girl come to us who has left school age 12 because of anxiety. And a mum got in touch to say, is there anything, is there any way that we could support her, because she does have a love of sport. So she's come to us, and over the first time she came to us, she couldn't even walk in the door. And over a period of time, we worked with her to help integrate her. And at the weekend, she actually took part in a competition, a sports hall competition. And she now comes every week and she's able to join in. And mum told me last week that she's now thinking of going back to school. So the power of sport is unbelievable. So we're proud of that. Thanks, Gemma. So these are our sessions for people affected by sight loss. So we work in conjunction with Sight Support, the charity in Hull. And here you can see we've got 2 sessions, one on a track where we support people to run and walk around the track. And then we have another session in at Warner's. And honestly, if you stood in the door of that room, you would not know that people were sight impaired, apart from maybe the guide dogs asleep on the floor. But it's really quite incredible. And this is such an important offer because this group are terribly isolated. So it's fantastic that we can put this on for this group of people. Thanks, Gemma. This is our most recent activity that we've added to our bundle, Nordic walking. So if you're not familiar with Nordic walking, it's a particular technique. So we have to teach people the first 5 steps of Nordic walking. So it's not about planting the pole in front of you like you might see people walking up a mountain. It's all about the plant behind. So there's a particular way of doing that. this is an activity that's really good for people with maybe chronic conditions. We've had ladies recovering from breast cancer. It really supports lymphatic drainage because of the impact on the upper body. So you use your upper body. So it's more than a walking workout. And they're a crazy bunch. They do things like night walks and put head torches on. So the joy of this, obviously, is getting out into fresh air, being a part of nature. And it's just a great activity, and another one run by our volunteer team. Thanks, Gemma. So this is another a new addition for this year. So we recognise that women going through menopause are at a great disadvantage in life due to the impact of menopause, and it's often women are often not necessarily active at this stage of life, and then they've got all the barriers of the symptoms of the menopause, which are not really going to make somebody think, gosh, what I need to do is to be more active. So we started this 12-week program, which includes 7 weeks of walking, 2 yoga sessions, 2 strength and conditioning sessions, a session with a specialist gynecologist all around menopause symptoms and treatment. So proper, accurate advice, and of course the camaraderie and support of other women. So we've taken this to various locations. We're currently running it in Beverley. We're going to be doing it in Pocklington, based in a GP surgery in January. And everything we do, we don't want to get people more active and then not be able to support that in the long term. So everything we do is about looking at how can we transition that person to keep that activity going. So hopefully the ladies that come to Pocklington can then, if they want, transition to the Pocklington Fit Mums group. But equally, if it means they've then got the confidence to go to their local Zumba class or whatever exercise offer is available, then we consider that a success, and that's really important. Thanks, Gemma. So sadly, through my own personal experience of grief, we've created a bereavement activity program. So my husband died in October 2020, and I just wondered then, is it possible to create to use my experience of Fit Mums and supporting exercise with people who are bereaved? And so we created our first walk, and this pictures are taken from at Dove House on the very first session we ran. And we've run a series of bereavement walks, and they are for anybody at any stage of bereavement. So whether you've been newly bereaved or whether it has been, 4 or 8 years ago, because that's what happened. People came, and for those who've experienced bereavement, you will understand that actually it doesn't ever end. And to have that opportunity to still touch base with other people and get that support is important. We're really excited that what we've done previously is move these bereavement activity programs around different communities. But in January, we're going to be basing these from the University of Hull. So there's going to be a permanent offer every week. And we'd like your support, be really good if we can help embed this in everybody's heads, that these bereavement walks, I don't know quite what day it will be just yet, but it's a Thursday morning. It's going to be every Thursday throughout the year, and we're going to have a team of people covering that to make that happen. So one, it's easier for people. They don't need to book on, they can literally just turn up. And again, because the roller coaster of grief means that, 1 week you might be needy and you might not come back for another 6 months, but that support will be there. So details will be coming out about that. And in addition to our walks, we also do yoga for grief, because people are often very anxious or at least have difficulty relaxing once they've been bereaved. So the yoga programs are important too. Thanks, Gemma. Again, this is a new addition this year. So we've created a bereavement walk specifically for people who've lost a child or young person, because again, that's a particular unique kind of grief, and there's probably what we felt was a benefit of bringing those particular people together. So these run from the rugby club in Beverley, and again, people are finding those really helpful because it's a contact and the support. And we work together with the Teenage Cancer Trust, so they refer quite a few people into that. So it's a lovely collaboration. They're once a month, by the way. Thanks, Gemma. Having sorted out something for adults, my next thought process after that was, what can we do for children? And we were lucky enough to get some funding from the Ideas Fund in conjunction with Hull University, and we created the Forest Project. So this is a 4-week program for children, and we use a private woodland in near Warne, and we work with the Humber Forest School, and it's just an amazing program. They come for 4 consecutive weeks, 3 half days and a whole day. They do all the fabulous activities that you can do in the forest, but interwoven into it is grief support. And it's a low intensity, it's not counselling, but what it does is it brings children together with a shared experience, and often these children are isolated in school. Thankfully, there's not a big contingent of children who've necessarily experienced bereavement, but that can cause isolation. But here they can be together, they can talk. The team will support them talking through, you know, memories, or maybe approaching their first time Christmas or anniversaries without their special person. So this continues, and we've just managed to get more funding, so we can take children from 6 years all the way up to 17. So you know, if that's of interest, just let us know. Thank you, Gemma. The other things that we do, we have an intergenerational choir which runs from January to March every year. Again, that was developed because we knew that winter is difficult for a lot of people, and this is open to members and non-members, so literally anybody can join this for 3 months of the year. It's every Sunday late afternoon. And we put on a performance, which is a fundraiser for us as a charity. But in that time, people have a focus through those miserable, dark months post-Christmas. It's intergenerational, which is lovely. We have quite a few people from our site support group, so we have guide dogs in the room. It's utter chaos, but somehow we sound okay. Honestly, the concert is normally a sellout. We're currently doing something a little different and a little special, which we've never done before. We're doing 3 weeks of Christmas rehearsals to produce a Christmas choir. We're going to be singing at the Cottingham Fit Mums Jingle Bell Run, which we do every year, but also going to be singing at Beverley Minster for the Christmas Tree Festival. So that's a bit of an extra gig that we've never done before. And in 2015, I think it was, we started a cycle squad, and that continues to this day. And that's a great other option for people who don't want to run but want to cycle as well. Thanks, Gemma. So the really important thing that overarches all of the offers that I've just explained is that we have a one-to-one support scheme for anybody who needs that extra handhold to become active. So all those things, hopefully, we like to think are really accessible to people, but we know there are people currently sitting at home or even at work who just don't have the confidence to come along to a session. So our In the Pink team started in 2012. It starts with a phone call, and we meet up with the volunteer, meets up in a cafe and explains all the activity options available, and then what would somebody like to choose, and then that individual's meet them there for 3 sessions. So we never pick them up because it's got to be sustainable in the long term, but they have somebody with them on a one-to-one whilst part of the group. The thing that most people say is, if I'd only known it was like this, but of course you just don't know that. And if you're in a state of anxiety for whatever reason, it's always going to seem, you know, a step too far. So In the Pink is available. People can self-refer, or we can take referrals. It's a really simple process, and it is all free. So that's really important. Thanks, Gemma. So I think, just sort of to round up, I hope I've given you a taste of what we do. All of these programs are in addition to that voluntary work happening in the clubs, and we get funding to deliver these programs. And the important ethos is absolutely that everybody fits at Fit Mums and Friends. And the lovely fella with the blue hoodie on the right is my lovely husband, Mike, and he came up with that strapline all those years ago. Everyone fits at Fit Mums and Friends, and I hope you can see that through the presentation today, and therefore spread the word that we really are for everybody. Thanks, Gemma. This is a lovely quote. I'll just let you have a read of that. We're really lucky to get some amazing feedback, and there are some very, very many amazing stories of people who've come through our doors whose lives have been changed. And even if it's just that once a week they're coming and having contact with people and feeling part of a community, it's absolutely essential. Thanks, Gemma. And just finally, there's some important contact details. If there's anything more you'd like to know, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We have really active Facebook pages. So every single club has their own Facebook page. So if you just want to get a flavour, and we know that people watch our Facebook pages sometimes for years before they have the confidence to walk through the door. But we are a charity. You can support also in so many ways. But if anybody, even if it's yourself thinking, gosh, I might like to have a go, if you feel anxious in any way, just please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was really, really interesting. And it, you know, as an organisation, as you said, you know, sometimes you can only know something on a surface level about like the run-in and the group. So it's really, really interesting. I found that really useful to hear just about all the different and diverse groups and needs that you meet in there. And, you know, as somebody who's I keep active to keep my, you know, emotional well-being where it is, you must see that being physically active really does make a difference to those attending, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's crucial. It's funny, isn't it? It's quite a simple thing. And certainly through the menopause program, the one thing that I'm shocked about is how inactive women in midlife are, for all the reasons that they've got a lot of other things going on in their life. But the difference between coming along and regularly walking is just massive. It's huge.
And it doesn't have to be really strenuous either, does it? It is, you know, just walking in itself.
Yeah.
It is so powerful. I will just stop sharing while we come to the chat and see if we've got any questions. Please feel free to unmute yourselves. But I will also, and they've got some really nice feedback there for you, Sam, just saying what an amazing range of groups and projects. Is in the pink support available to people across the East Riding, Sam?
Yes, it is, absolutely. Hull and East Riding, we'd love, and you know, the frustration with that is that we'd love to have more referrals from GPs, from nurses, and we don't necessarily get them, so it tends to be word of mouth. But please, yes, there's a link to our In the Pink page. I can put that in the chat if you like. But yeah, please, just everybody's welcome.
Yeah, and just on that note, if there is anything you ever want us to share on our socials, Sam, we do have a bulletin that goes out every 2 weeks. So if there's anything like that, it goes out to all our VCSE groups and partners. And you've got some really nice feedback there from someone saying it's very inspirational and great. Thank you that you reach so many different groups of people and offer much needed support with so many varied activities. Right, I'm just going to screen share again, just to kind of close the session. Bear with me one moment. Oh, gone too far. So why is it important that we work in collaboration? I think both guest speakers and presentations really illustrate just how much there is out there. And actually, until you do attend sessions such as this, you don't always know the full extent of what somebody offers. So, you know, it is really important that we network and collaborate where possible. But here's a few kind of bits from research. So it's really important that we provide opportunities for social benefit and mutual support. You know, there's a common phrase, two minds are better than one, or something along them lines. And it is absolutely true. And the more you can connect with those organisations that are on the ground supporting people in communities and really getting to grips with what's going on for them, the more that we can increase that collaboration and networking. It also provides social and learn activities for those harder to reach and engage. As somebody who's worked right across the sectors, there is times when we've said that some people or groups may be harder to engage and harder to reach. But actually what I've learned is that they may be harder, but they're not impossible to reach, because somebody is reaching them, somebody is supporting them. And the more you can connect with those that were embedded within a community, the better chances you do have connecting with them. It also provides opportunity for communities to campaign on important issues. I kind of touched upon it earlier, so I won't go over it too much, but they really know what's going on and they know what issues people are facing. And quite often we can go in thinking as an organisation that we know what's going on for a community. And then actually when you get in there, a service is not necessarily received in the way that we maybe would have wanted it to. So it is really important that there is that user engagement as part of that process. and the VCSE sector on the whole will work with people to help you understand what's going on for communities. It helps us to improve and inform services. You know, we see across all the strategic boards at the moment a real emphasis on user engagement and collaboration and working with services. You know, it says there, you know, services by the people that are for the people. And also it's really important that we're working towards that shared solutions that do benefit all. And I picked a little quote there, sorry, that I thought was really appropriate for today's session, which is building capacity dissolves difference and irons out inequalities. And, you know, like Sam just touched upon there is so many things that can, there is so many sort of barriers for people to engage in things, and it may be anxiety, it might be a physical barrier, it might be a mental and an emotional well-being one, but there is, you know, services out there that, and volunteers and support workers that will help to combat them barriers in order for somebody to engage. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about our service. So as mentioned, I have 2 roles with Community Vision, and we work in partnership with East Riding Yorkshire Council, the East Riding Children's Safeguarding Partnership and the East Riding Safeguarding Adults Board to offer training support to all VCSE sector groups. So if you are part of a group that's either based within the East Riding or provides support to those that are communities within the organisation, we are commissioned to deliver a range of support, including sort of your safeguarding policies, procedures and training. We can deliver in-house and bespoke training that's suitable for your staff and volunteers. We have our disclosure and barring service, so we can support with checks where appropriate for staff members. We help to support specific safeguarding issues. So if you are faced with a safeguarding issue or allegation within your organisation, we can help you to navigate through what can be a complex process, particularly if you do need to involve external agencies. And we also are commissioned to deliver domestic abuse training and support. We deliver the DAPS programme, which stands for the Domestic Abuse Practitioner Standards, and it is the same domestic abuse training that is offered and delivered within the East Riding Yorkshire Council to the staff there. And that is, you know, purposely we're delivering that exact same training to really ensure consistency about how, as a whole network of sectors, we are tackling and challenging domestic abuse. There is my contact details there. I will leave that up for a short moment. If there's anything we can do in terms of supporting your organisation or helping you to network, we do. We are a Contact Community Vision is an infrastructure organisation, so we essentially support and right from early stages and governance the VCSE sector with all its kind of needs and requirements. So if there is anything that we can do in terms of, I mentioned there, promoting your events, linking you with other organisations, funding, governance, anything at all, please get in touch with me. And even if it doesn't come under my role and remit, I will connect you with a member of team who will be able to support you. And just before we come to a close, is there any questions? Please feel free to unmute yourselves or pop them in the chat. I think we're okay on the chat front. I've just had a quick nosy. So it is a huge thank you from me to both guest speakers. I know, unfortunately, Jack had to leave us early in the session. I will just come out with this. And a huge thank you to Sam for presenting today. And a thank you again for everybody who's attended, for being part of the workshop today. I will hang on at the end, but please feel free to leave as you, when you're ready, and please feel free to fill in any feedback, particularly if this session has been useful for you, because we've done something a little bit different this year. So that would be really valued. If you want to send that feedback straight to me on the email address, that is absolutely fine. But thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Gemma. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hiya there. There's only myself and yourself on the screen. Is it Myers Back Nursery? Is there anything I can help you with?